Hi, I'm Campbell Field, the shore manager for Equipo Telefonica. Today we're going to take a bit of a look at the difference between the inshore and the offshore setup on the Volvo 70s. So come with me and we're going to have a look on board. To the untrained or the layman's eye, there actually doesn't really look like much difference between the two boats, or between a boat in offshore mode and inshore mode. The reality is there's days of work involved in changing from one to the other. You know, one example with our rigging, you know, we change over to almost a completely different set of rigging. Offshore we know we're relying on ultimate reliability, and you know, we use some different types of covers on our ropes. Inshore we're not so worried about, well, we are worried about reliability. We want stuff to keep working, but we're more focused on efficiency and having lines which work really well and, you know, go on winches really well, and it helps us helps the guys get the sails up and down nice and efficiently. It's really kind of hard to see the difference, but you know, we tend to go to some smaller lines and some lighter lines for our inshore setup. We use slightly different sized halyards. These are all offshore now, but we actually do use slightly heavier halyards for inshore work because we're not relying on lock systems so much. You know, we have spinnakers, etc., all go onto locks when we're sailing offshore to help prevent chafe, but inshore, you know, sometimes with runs with spinnakers up in the timing counted in minutes rather than hours or days, you'd rather stay off lock and be prepared to drop the spinnaker at shortest possible notice. I mean, you know, spinnaker halyards and jib halyards, etc., they're designed to be able to hold a sail up, but ultimately all the work is done by the lock strop itself. You know, the size of the halyard is the most work that a halyard's doing offshore really is just pulling the sail up into the air, and then once the sail is set, the lock system is doing all the hard work. So this rope really just sits around and flaps around in the breeze. So there are a lot of differences in the rigging. The rig itself is set up completely differently as well. Some again easy to see. Inshore we take the radars off. You know, the race committee lets us take the radars off because we do a lot of tacking, and as you saw from what happened to Ericsson 3 at the start of the leg from Cape Town, one tack and they wiped their radar off the front of the rig. It's kind of an expensive exercise to keep using radars like that. So we can take them off. The rig tune is slightly different. You know, we're you know, setting the rig up to be optimum for the inshore purely upwind and downwind sailing, whereas offshore you've got to bear in mind a lot more of reefing and reaching and things like that. Offshore, as you know, well, it's a big mantra for Volvo and safety. Offshore we carry a lot of safety equipment, life rafts, john buoys, all the equipment can be deployed off the back of the boat, but it's a bit sort of overkill to carry it all on board for an inshore race. So, you know, Volvo gave us permission to take it all off. I mean, we usually have two big 16-man life rafts sitting underneath the radar tower here. We actually use the opportunity for the import race to get those off the boat, get them fully serviced, they get off and checked. So, you know, we'll be dragging those back down and putting them on board probably tomorrow and ready for the offshore. So, you know, quite a bit of extra weight out of the back of the boat. The next leg from Singapore to Qingdao was always going to be an interesting one, and the guys actually, the sailing team just had a briefing this morning looking at the weather, and you know, it's going to live up to expectations. I believe you know, they're expecting, you know, in excess of 35-40 knots upwind up the coast of Taiwan, and you know, beyond that they're going to really start to get cold, which is going to be, well, it's going to be more interesting for them than for us. And just in terms of what we're doing, preparing for this leg, we're having a real thorough check of everything that we would normally do, but also bearing in mind that the boat's going to be pretty tested structurally. You know, we've gone around and had a thorough check of every square inch of the structure. We're looking at what we should be carrying in terms of spares to cover any eventuality. You know, as we've seen already in this race, you know, structure can quite easily pop in these boats. You know, Puma had problems with longitudinal frames and things like that. We've taken a look at, you know, what you could argue would be, you know, the first areas that you'd have any concern of, and you know, we've built parts, they're going to be carried on board. We're also going through and looking at you know, looking at how we mowed the boat in terms of weight. I mean, you know, we could, you know, we're loading couple of tons of equipment, food, spares and provisions on board we do that for every leg, but some legs you might want to go a little bit heavier. You know, the guys are working through that right now, seeing, you know, if it's worth carrying that extra 300, 400, 500 kilograms of spare parts, if it's going to deliver a performance benefit as well as have a safety benefit if something does happen, you know, that extra equipment, whether it's going to become really handy or not.